You Are My Special is VGC, the video game podcast, with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Scullion, and Andy Robinson. This week, Switch 2 Silly Season marches on, but first, how are we, folks? Chris, how are you doing?
I'm good. Was that Taylor Swift again, or was that...
No, it is the lyrics to a song called Special by King Gnu, and it is the theme song to...
GNU!
Yeah, King
GNU.
Gnu.
Okay, GNU!
It is the theme song to Jujutsu Kaisen,
of course
anime,
it is.
which is set in Shibuya. It's what we've been watching recently. It's very, very good.
I loved. As an aside, I love Phil Spencer's little Tokyo. Xbox did their kind of annual pretending to give a fuck about Japan video, and he's like, join me at Tokyo Game Show.
Tokyo Game Show, mate. There's a guy, total aside, there's a guy that's like cutting about Japan and Thailand and that kind of region of the world that's for Glasgow, and he's just walking about getting wrecked constantly. He's got a big kanji tattoo across his neck, and he just walks into places and goes, I'm in a fucking family mart, man. This is mental. Look at all this beer. And all the Japanese people are just like, okay. Just come past him going, hi. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, I think.
Good.
Well, it's Friday again. We've survived.
Friday feeling. Any football this weekend?
We've survived another week. It's going to be my first one, actually, because I was away for the first 3 home games. So we got early kickoff Chelsea tomorrow. We usually turn them over. This will probably age horribly when they abolish us. But we usually do all right against Chelsea. So, yeah, looking forward to that.
I saw you were in the football violence hotbed of Craven Cottage. Why?
If you zoom in, there's just me falling over people in the corner flag. I was literally row B.
The craziest thing to me,
Danny Ings winner.
Chris, you'll agree with this. How close English football away fans get to home fans, whereas in Scotland they usually shut off like a full section of the stadium to split us up. Whereas Andy could have like hooked one of the Fulham fans.
Oh, it's unreal. No, but I can actually go further with that, because Fulham is probably the most unreal special case of that, right? So Fulham used to have notoriously a neutral section, right? And it was the neutral section, and I'm using that in quotes, is next to the away end. So if you couldn't get an away ticket, you just buy a ticket in the neutral section and go and sit with the away fans, or not. But basically, it's all in the same stand. So allegedly, the reason they did that was because they couldn't split. There's no, I mean, you need an entrance, right, to split the fans up. Mm-hmm. They've just built a new stand, like famously spent millions and millions on this big new stand. And as part of that, they've got rid of the neutral section. So it's the first time I've been since they've done this, pandemic, etc. And I was like, oh, that's a shame. They haven't got the neutral section. So, I had to pay a bomb to go in the away end. And I went to the away end, and you just sat with the Fulham fans. Like, they've turned the neutral section into just another host. So you're literally, after we just, kind of robbed them in the 95th minute equaliser, you're like in the toilet after just with a load of Fulham fans. You could only do it at Fulham, the mildest.
All the Fulham fans were in your Insta story. All the Fulham fans were like, "Ha ha ha! Isn't football a funny game?"
Because I hate this, right? Because you can't choose where you sit on the away end.
Yeah.
So there's 1 or 2 times where you're that guy who you end up getting, like literally the last row next to the home fans. Oh God! And as anyone who knows who's been to a football match, especially an away game, there are many people who choose to sit there just to have a row. Yeah. Like, they're not even, a lot of them are not even watching the game. They got their backs to the pitch. They're just there to have a row, with the opposing fans. And there was one, I think they scored, 20 minutes in, something like that. And there was one Fulham fan who looked straight out of Made in Chelsea, kind of very well to do, who decided to turn to all of our fans and shout as loud as he could, like, shall I sing a song for you? Because they weren't making any noise at all. Very mad fan base, kind of mild fan base. And that was the biggest, he worked out very quickly, that was the biggest mistake he'd ever made. So he had 50 middle-aged men abusing him for the rest of the game, basically. Go on then, mate. Are you going to sing us a song? Sing us a song. When are you going to sing us a song, mate? Sing us a song. Times that for about half hour.
I remember back in, we're talking 90s here, my season ticket used to be at the other end of Celtic Park. So now we sit in the Jockstein stand, which is like the west stand. But before that stand was built, we would sit in the other side. And we were literally, my seats were, it was me, two guys, and then a complete column of police all the way down, and then 10 empty seats, and then another column of police, and then the Rangers supporters whenever there's an Old Firm game. And you would get random guys just in front of you standing up and just doing wanker gestures like for no reason, and then some random policeman would go, "Oh," and you go, "Sorry," and then another guy would, so the whole game was just random guys just jumping up, going, "Oh," the whole game.
I got to say, the police were very good. Like when you go away, usually you have embedded police officers, like that just travel with that team, and they diffuse the situation like really, really well. Because I'm not the guy I happen to be sat next to. Like not only am I next to the away fans, I'm sat next to like the number one guy who's there for a row. He didn't watch the game at all, and I'm between him and the home fans. So I'm trying to watch the match, and I've got this geezer here just spitting across me. So I had two police officers literally standing on my feet. They came over to tell him to stop, basically, but they diffused it really well. They were like, "Yeah, look, mate, we know they're mugs. Can you keep the language down? There's children." He's like, "Yeah, that's right, yeah."
Okay, Chris Scullion, you've hyped this up in the Discord. You can get access to the Discord, patreon.com/videogameschronicle. More on that later. But Chris Scullion, first of two drink reviews set up for us.
We dabble with humorous beverages from time to time on here, but I never have I dreaded one so much as I've dreaded the limited edition Oreo flavoured Coke Zero, which is quite likely to be one of the worst drinks ever concocted. I'm showing bias because I've not tried it yet, but I do have a pipeline punch in reserve just in case I need to wash the taste out because I'm dreading it. But here we go. So
I feel like you need to do the whole whack here. I need to know what it smells like when you open it. I need the bouquet.
Wait, there's no. It's a Coke Creations, which have famously always been awful. There's not been a single one of those. Remember they did like an AI generated flavour once and a year 3000 flavour, and they all tasted like tin basically. The description is a cookie-flavoured, sparkling, low-calorie soft drink with sweeteners. And there's not a single word in that
it doesn't fill you with excitement.
How can you combine Coke and Oreos and have low calorie, no sugar?
It smells like Coke Zero, funnily enough. But here we go. Here's the first
Just put some cinnamon in it.
I was expecting a kind of vanilla Coke since like the cream and the Coke, but let's have a look. His face. He's taking a second drink. He's absolutely loving it. He's pinging off his nut. Chris Scullion, how are we feeling about it?
It tastes the same as all the other Coke Creations ones. It's like,
when are you guys going to learn that all of your energy drinks taste the same?
Not true.
It tastes, you know, there's people saying this is vile, this is outrageous. It tastes like the other ones. It tastes like Coke Zero with a bit of vanilla through it. It's basically Coke Zero. It's Coke Zero vanilla. I don't like it, but I didn't like Coke Zero vanilla anyway. That's essentially what it is. So panic over, folks. It's boring and generic.
Put that in the bin because I've got a real one. G Fuel Knuckles Sour Power. This can has been sat in my fridge for days, so it's an absolute peak. Oh, it smells acidic.
Funnily enough.
Oh, that's nice. That's great. It just tastes like a sour cherry energy drink. I'm not really tasting the Knuckles per se.
Have you made like a tier list yet?
No, really here's the thing.
Well, surely you should have a tier list. I mean, I feel like I'm wasting my time every week when you're getting new drinks, but you're not ranking them.
Yeah, we should have a league
it
table.
Would feel constructive if you're going, oh, that goes straight in at rank C.
We can do a tier list. A numbered ranking of energy drinks is a copyrighted format by one Jeff Gerstmann, and we're already stepping on toes.
Is it a Nintendo patent?
Yeah, I've already got enough legal problems. But yes, if you're in the Johnston area, just outside Paisley, and you go to Pound Basket, you can get G Fuel at a hugely inflated price. Who knows if this is in date, but it tastes quite good. So,
good.
Chris, if there was a Sonic side character that you would make into an energy drink, who would it be?
Cream.
Of course.
For next week, I've got a Stranger Things drink sitting in the fridge.
Jesus.
Slowly carbonating, so that'll be a good one.
Okay, before we get into news, this is games related. We have a question later on that requires some outside help, so I'm going to get to that right now. Friend of the show, let me see. I should have looked at this earlier. Oh, stop with your streamer mode, Pish. I apologize. Asks, do you think you could convince Ben Starr to officiate my wedding next year in his teeth outfit? Well, I suppose we should just ask him. So I'm going to send him a voice note now. Hi Ben, it's Jordan from VGC, the video game podcast, UK's #1 podcast. One of our listeners is asking if you could. Oh my god, I'm going to sneeze. Ben, I'm so sorry. I'm going to sneeze. It's gone. One of our listeners is asking if you could officiate his. I'm going to sneeze again. Officiate his wedding in your teeth outfit. I'd like to know how much that would cost, and if you could reply on a voice note because this is a radio broadcast, that would be wonderful. Love you. Bye bye.
I love how the question was so outrageous that you got allergic to it as you were reading it.
That feeling of needing to sneeze and then it going away is absolutely horrible. But yes, we'll get to that later. Story number 1.
Can I just say before you start the story that this is an aftertaste now, which is offensive?
Okay.
Just to point that out.
Typical woke getting offended by drink. Story number 1. Alleged images of the Nintendo Switch successor console have appeared online, showing a design that's not too dissimilar from the previous console. The images, which appeared on Reddit but were sourced from a Chinese social networking site, show a larger 8-inch screen, magnetic Joy-Cons, USB-C port top and bottom. While the images are unverified, one source, who's not seen the final Switch 2 console but has been briefed on Nintendo's plans, told VGC that the Reddit images match what the company has told partners to expect from its design. Andy Robinson, how do you think it looks? I'm pretty happy if it's just a big Switch.
I mean, you don't have to look at just our reporting. You look at reporting from, I think, Bloomberg. I think there's been one or two others who've kind of talked about the size of the screen and stuff like that. It matches up, right? Like for the last year, we've been saying it's got an 8-inch screen. You know, it's another hybrid device. There's only so much you can do with that sort of thing, right? They've had a patent for magnetic Joy-Cons, which doesn't necessarily mean they're going to use them, but it is as it says, right? I mean, I've not seen the Switch 2. I have a very well-placed source who is aware of the ergonomics of it, who said that these images match, what the ergonomics would be. That doesn't mean that the images are real. It doesn't. It could also be someone else who's kind of aware and has kind of retroactively made them. We don't know if the images are real. However, it is kind of significant that that's what I've heard, that this looks pretty much on the money. So even if they're not authentic, I don't think they're going to be far off from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And in terms of like your personal feeling on it, Andy, is this what you'd want out of a Switch 2? Because I saw some blowback, people saying it's not very Nintendo just to do a refined version of the thing.
Oh yeah, I'd like them to do something outlandishly, kind of original. Again, absolutely, that's the fun of Nintendo. However, that's not what they're going to do, I don't think. I mean, all of the noise that's been coming out of the company for the last couple of years, especially while they've been talking about a successor, is this is a company that is post-Iwata, and it is very, very aware that it's caught in this disruptive cycle of boom bust, right? That every hit they've had has been followed by a flop, and they build up this audience of 100 million plus users, and then they reset it every 8 to 10 years, and they've been talking a lot about how they need to get out of that cycle. So what that says to me is a device that is going to be backwards compatible and is going to make it very, very easy to transition from one to the other. I wouldn't even be surprised, and it's the way that everything's going in console world right now, right? If it's an iPhone, it's even iPhone-esque, is that you have to remember that, and I say this a lot, that the significance of this generation is that the last one was when everyone built their digital libraries. So if you had a PS4, you're getting a PS5. Because all your games are on it. You turn it on and all your games are on it. And I don't know if you want to count Wii U, but people have built their digital library on Switch.
Yeah.
So that's a big appeal, right? All your games are there by this new thing. They'll have don't get me wrong, they'll have a gimmick. They always have a gimmick, right? This is just because you're seeing this, it looks like a Switch, that doesn't mean that there's not some fancy thing, like, I mean, again, speculation time. There's been a lot of speculation that they might go back to a dual screen thing, and that's what I would, kind of, I think would be quite cool. I'd like to see is a dual screen setup, but the TV's the second screen, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's a Wii U, even move it even more towards Wii U, where it's a true portable Wii U, and you could use it as a dual screen thing. I mean, maybe even you could look into the fact that it's got 2 USB ports, right? Would they put 2 USB ports on there just for convenient charging while you're playing? I don't know. So is that so that you can hook it up and use it as a controller and the TV's second screen? That's my speculation. Yeah. But there will be a gimmick, 100%. I mean, who remembers HD Rumble, right?
Come on now. You listen to it and it's ice cubes. You listen to the Joy-Con. How many balls are in this con? Lots. Chris Scullion, how you feeling on it?
I'm happy with the look. I've been saying from the word go, it needs to just be the Switch again. Don't piss around with weird gimmicks. And I agree with Andy. There'll be something. There'll be some sort of new thing that they're going to try out. But it'll be, I'm predicting it'll be the way it always is, where Nintendo does it best and then everyone else just ignores it. So that Ice Cube Rumble thing was really cool. And the 1-2 Switch game where you have to roll it and count the marbles that are inside the controller, that was really cool. And then nobody did anything with it after that. Yeah. It's the same way like the Astrobot is the only game that uses the DualSense properly. These gimmicks are come and go, but the important thing is that it has to, in my view, be a more powerful Switch and nothing else. Don't piss around. Don't try and like reinvent the wheel. This works and people love it. All they want is something more powerful. Just do that. Don't piss around. Call it the Switch 2. Don't mess about with the name, because I've been in this game long enough to remember the 3DS and enough people asking me, what's this, just an XDS? After the DS, the DS, the DS Lite, the DSi, 3DS, it must be all the same thing.
The new Nintendo Switch.
The Wii U, it must be the fancy Wii, isn't it?
They were. I was hearing at the time. I remember Nintendo Europe were allegedly like begging them not to call it Wii U.
So don't call it the Switch Pro. Don't call it the Super Switch. Don't call it the Switch fucking Max or whatever. It is the Switch 2. Don't piss around. Switch is the name that is the brand that everyone knows almost as much as Nintendo now. Don't call it the Nintendo Wham or some ridiculous thing. Like call it the Switch.
Nintendo Wham.
Switch 2. Just don't play it safe.
Come on, the Nintendo. You can see the adverts right now. The Nintendo logo. Then it goes Jitterbug. Come on.
Wham! You can get a version that's like covered in denim. Yeah. But the one thing I do want is I've said this before, I want the UI to be more Nintendo.
We have a question on that later. Hold UI thoughts for now. We have a question on that later. So I feel good about this in the sense that if it's just a big Switch and all the games go over, I'm happy with that. There is a wee bit of me that kind of misses the feeling of when I got my Nintendo Switch and the only games I had for it were like a Breath of the Wild, and I was like, oh, what's this Snipper Clips thing? And you build up like a tiny wee library. Like that first couple of weeks of having a new console is quite cool, but as Andy always says, it feels like that's kind of an antiquated idea. Like, realistically, I'm getting the Switch 2 because
good or bad, it is done.
Yeah. I'm getting the Switch 2 because I want the Pokemon games that I already own to look better. Like I want Legends ZA to look better whenever that comes out. So
it's definitely gone. Like even if this heavily rumored Microsoft like Xbox handheld ever comes out, it'll be the same. It'll be like it'll play your Xbox games. You just go, thanks very much.
Especially
and that's it. I mean,
like every Xbox code we get these days, it's like, oh yeah, the PC version on the Xbox store is unlocked for you. So all that stuff is just going to come in without any problem. I wonder what kind of weight do you think this thing's going to be? Because like this is a console that really has such a youth appeal, and I feel like if it gets like Steam Deck heavy, that might be a bit much. Chris, do you think they aim for something similar to Switch weight?
I mean, I suppose realistically you would guess it would be in between Switch and Steam Deck.
Are we actually speculating on how heavy the console's going to be?
I think this is important for a handheld.
But at the same time, I think...
texture do you think it has, guys? Do you think it'll be like a glossy?
Slimy.
I think it'll be matte. It'll be matte, kind of almost metallic. But also, there'll be a light like a couple of years down the line, and then that'll be
And
the
an
one for the
OLED.
kids. Yeah, and that'll be the one for the kids, and then so this first batch is only going to the hardcore. Let's face it. Nobody's other than the TikTokers. Nobody's going to be buying a Switch 2 next year, other than hardcore Switch fans. Everyone else buying something for their kids are just going to buy the original Switch for now. It's going to be a couple of years until it becomes mainstream. So, yeah,
it will be when they do a new Animal Crossing. That'll be the one that really transfers people over. Chris, you made an interesting point. For
Thanks.
young people, do you? That was the end of my statement. For young people that maybe got into the Switch and like the pandemic with Animal Crossing and Mario Kart and stuff like that, do you think they think of the Switch before they think of the Nintendo Switch? Because I think they do. I hadn't thought about that before.
In the same way that a generation of kind of adults and parents thought of the Wii.
Yeah.
Some of them would say the Nintendo Wii, but a lot of people would call it the Wii. I think a lot of people call this one the Switch. It's the one reason PlayStation does so well, or one of the reasons obviously it does so well, is that PlayStation is a brand, and PlayStation has been the brand for 30 years now. Whereas Andy's disappeared.
Andy's disappeared.
That'll be his drink. But yeah, like it seems that Nintendo's up and down waves seem to also go with the popularity of the brand that they're selling, so that everyone goes, "Oh, Wii," and then Wii U.
They go Wii,
Wii, and then they go U, and then they go Switch. So yeah, I think it would be madness to rename it something completely different when Switch is the brand now, almost as much as in the same way that iPhone is as much of a brand, is more of a brand than Apple is.
Yeah. Although that does get into the confusing conversation that we were having earlier. Like, what one is it this time?
What Apple? I don't even know what iPhone I've got. It's one of them. It's in the teens.
It's in the teens, right? Chris Scullion, a Nintendo Switch console right now is £260. I can't quite remember what it launched at, but it feels like it was around like 260 to 300
the price
range.
has never really gone down now.
What's this?
400.
I think it's 400. Yeah,
400 all day long. Like it's not going to be any cheaper than that.
I think that's fine. Like,
I'm fine with it.
Too bad.
I'm fine with it.
In the current climate,
even
that's a bargain.
See, even if it's 500, which is on the dodgy side, that's going to be where you go. Get a lot of people going, nah, you're all right. You get a Steam Deck for that. I'd still buy it because it's new hardware.
Yeah,
it's different to the PS Pro, the PS5 Pro, which is like the same but an iteration. If it's brand new hardware, I'm there day one, even if it's 500. But obviously, I hope it's 400. But we'll see. It really depends on. We don't know enough about the innards, like how much it's storage it's packing, how much what the processor is. We need to know all that before we can kind of accurately guess.
Tell me about your innards. I'd be fine if it costs the same as a shoot PS5.
It's going to be like $400.
Yeah, that's what we're guessing 400. I think
$400, £500, €800.
Like Nintendo, you know, all of this stuff is kind of, for me, is a bit of a fruitless debate. Like, oh, how heavy is it going to be? Well, it's going to be as heavy as it needs to be. You know, how expensive is it going to be? It's going to be the price it needs to be. Nintendo are a company who time and time again have proven that they'll just compromise. Like those things they're not going to go, well, we would like it to be $400, but we need it to have ray tracing and all this RAM. And so it's $600. They won't. They'll just rip it out, right? Oh, we'd like it to be a good weight to carry, but we want to put all these specs in. No, they'll pull the specs out for it to be the right way. Nintendo have shown time and time again, those are the priorities: cost, you know, ergonomics. The power will come secondary to those things.
I spoke to ray tracing last week. I said, Raymond, what's going on with it? He said, I'm not going to do it, mate. So I can confirm there's no ray tracing isn't involved.
He's washed his hands. What about Stevie? Is he involved?
Stevie tracing, he hasn't been asked yet, but we'll see.
Could not be reached for comment at this time.
Ray's not up for it. But yeah, I'm going to be happy regardless of what it is. I'm up for it. Like, I'll always buy a Nintendo console day one, and as long as they don't go wild, well, it doesn't matter. Whatever they do, it's going to be fine. Yeah. It will be fine, everyone. Don't worry.
Clip that.
Clip
for,
it.
for when it's $2,000.
No.
Speaking of,
It turns out everyone comes with a wee sachet of SARS. Everyone's come back to Clippy Bear. It'll be fine, guys.
Speaking of Nintendo, Palworld Dev says it will fight Nintendo lawsuit, quote, to ensure indies are discouraged from pursuing ideas. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have filed a lawsuit against Palworld developer Pocket Pair. They filed a lawsuit in Tokyo District Court on Wednesday seeking an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages, quote, on the ground that Palworld infringes multiple patent rights. Now, in response, Pocket Pair has said that it's truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development, they said in a statement. Quote, we will do our utmost for our fans to ensure that indie game developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing creative ideas. Andy Robinson, it only took them 8 months, but it's happened.
Yeah, and I would imagine that they're knackered.
Yeah.
The statement that they've put out is very much a wishy-washy, kind of defense of a company that knows that it's knackered, in the sense that they're going to have to pay money. I mean, I don't think the game's going anywhere or anything kind of drastic like that. But yeah, they're very much like they're playing to the crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're defending indies and, we would like to make the game, but we're doing this. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like, let's all be fair, right? Palworld is a good game. We reviewed it on VGC. We gave it 4 out of 5. It plays nothing like Pokemon. However, it is a bastardization of lots of different games, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at their previous games, they're all bastardizations of lots of different games. This is not some white knight, indie developer, brainstorming the next original title. It's always come across as a very cynical company that wants to make games that sell, that are popular, by Frankensteining loads of bits of other popular games together. They've said that on record before. You look at their previous game, it's Breath of the Wild, with bits of other games bolted on. This game is a survival game. It's Rust, basically, with bits of Pokemon and other, kind of games bolted onto it. You play with fire, you're going to get burnt, especially if you're going to piss off Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo have never lost a lawsuit that they've initiated of this kind. Did you know that?
Undefeated.
They've never lost, right? So when they spend, and it's been, January, the game came out, and the Pokemon Company released a statement saying they're investigating. That was like 8 months ago, more than 8 months ago. So they've spent best part of a year working on this.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, right? And you can see, they just want any excuse to do these guys. They don't care whether it is related to the character designs or what have you, because that's what everyone's focused on. Is it looks like Pokemon, right? Very, very derivative of Pokemon. Some of the designs, like you can go through them yourself, and it's like, oh, this is this Pokemon, and that's that Pokemon. There's even been some debate about whether they've literally traced the 3D models, which at the time I spoke to a couple of AAA 3D artists, lead character artists on various AAA games, and they basically told me they thought it was, in their opinion, from those models that were doing the rounds, that they definitely done that. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah,
that's a copyright issue, right? This lawsuit that they've filed, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, is a patent lawsuit, and this is the important point, right? So that suggests that they're not arguing anything about the art or anything like that. Oh, look, they've copied us. It's literally, a patent is a invention, right? It's a whole different argument, this one, whether that they're right or wrong. I think a lot of people agree that patents in games are wrong because you're patenting a gameplay mechanic, right? And companies like EA and stuff like that have got tons of patents that you wouldn't believe, right? That, say, for example, I'm pretty sure Bandai Namco has got the patent for playing a game on a loading screen.
Because remember they expired in 2015, but they did have it for like 30 years.
For my point, right? So, do you know what I mean? No one could do any kind of interactivity on a loading screen until that went, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of patents like that all over the place in games, and what happens is nobody really enforces them. So it's kind of all right until you piss them off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Nintendo, just like lots of other publishers have got these really kind of broad brush patents about gameplay mechanics everyone uses, but they never enforce them until you make a knockoff Pokemon game and sell 25 million copies in a month, and break Game Pass records like Palworld has. Right. So you're on Nintendo's radar and you've pissed them off.
Yeah.
So there's a really, really great piece that went up overnight on site 404media.co. So go and have a look at that. It's where a friend of the site, friend of the podcast, Dr. Serkan Toto, who's a kind of Japan-based games consultant, he kind of shares his 2 cents of what's going to happen here. And he basically says that, again, to my point, that there's all kinds of patents Nintendo have that they will have these guys bang to rights on. For example, I'm pretty sure they have a patent on like throwing Pokeballs to catch monsters in a world that you can walk around, which is obviously, that's a easy, conflict. But even stuff like he gives an example where Nintendo, there was a mobile game in Japan, a huge mobile game, which again, kind of came into their radar because it was making, millions and millions and millions, and it breached like 4 or 5 of Nintendo's patents. So Nintendo just went out and did them, in court. And now the game continues to sell, but they have to pay Nintendo a cut of everything they make in the future. So that's Nintendo will probably be their end game, right?
Yeah.
Is they're going to give us a ton of money, please, and now every copy of Palworld you sell, you're paying us. Yeah. It's a business thing. Like he says, for example, Nintendo have the patent on, when you put a game into sleep.
Yeah.
And you turn it back on and it says, do you want to resume gameplay?
Yeah.
They have a patent on that. So even if you could be making a World War II RTS, right?
I'm actually
completely removed from what Nintendo does. And if you piss them off, they could still like go, well, actually we've got a patent for, tanks.
Yeah.
And things like that.
We've patented war, actually.
I think the gist of it is that, and also Dr. Toto makes the point that, and they really are, like Nintendo are, you only have to look through the past. When it comes to this kind of stuff, they are ruthless. Absolutely ruthless. He says he believes it isn't a coincidence at all that they've just signed a deal with PlayStation. And they're about to have a big coming out at TGS next week, where it looks like they're going to announce the PS5 version of the game. Because there's been some suggestions that's going to happen. He doesn't think it's coincidence at all that they've announced a lawsuit a week before that just to spoil their party.
Yeah,
well, sounds like
Kenichi Masuda is going to come down from the rafters like Sting and kick Johnny Palworld's head in on stage.
It sounds like I'm going to have to rethink my World War II themed live sim Normandy Crossing. To change it.
As long as you can't put it into sleep.
Well, I'll try my best.
Take the Pokeballs out.
It's absolutely streaming with Pokeballs, mate. I'll need to totally rethink the game. The thing about this is, it's like we say, when it first came out, everyone was like, "Come on!" Like it's pretty blatant what's going on here. But the problem is, Nintendo is so litigious with loads of stuff that they've become the villain of the piece. Like anyway, because every time Nintendo brings something down which they're within the rights to do, everyone still goes, "Oh, come on, you're ruining our fun here, Nintendo." So this is like another.
It's like the boy who cried wolf situation, isn't it?
So it's like a situation where it's like they're within the rights to do this. It's a shame, but this stuff about the pocket pair chap saying we're doing our best to fight for creative ideas. It's like, come on, mate.
Mate, if another indie game had a big hit, they would like nick it. There would be a pocket pair rip-off.
We're fighting for creative ideas so that we can have them.
When are we getting the pocket pair bilateral? Come on now, get your finger at your arse. Proper game. Right, before the break, serious news. Sony has announced a PlayStation 30th anniversary collection of consoles, including a grey it's so
can't
amazing
even
I
say
can't
it.
Speak. A grey PS5 digital and PS5 Pro. Are doing a DualSense Edge, a DualSense, a PlayStation Portal, as aforementioned PS5 digital, and Chris Scullion's PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm very excited about this. I will get the controllers. They're only making 12,300 of the PS5 Pro, so no one's going to get them. Chris Scullion, how excited are you? Get your hands out your trousers. Tell us about the PS5 Pro PS1 version.
No, still not interested.
Woo!
Like it looks great, but the point remains: when it was £700, I wasn't interested. This is going to cost £1,000 because of all the stuff that comes with it. I don't care if it's shaped like Crash Bandicoot and the HDMI out is his wee arsehole. I still don't want it. It costs too much money for an iteration. So it looks lovely, and I look forward to people getting them on eBay for £5,000. But
you're getting the controller, but
I'll get the controller. The controller, if it's reasonably priced and it's easy to get, I'll get the controller.
It's probably going to be 70 quid like all the
controllers.
That's
fine. If they're going to charge £100 for it, they can whistle. But if it's like £70 like every other controller, like the Astrobot one was, fine. Because the controller
Andy,
looks
you getting the controller?
I'll get whatever I can get my hands on, to be honest. Isn't it funny how, like, a couple of days ago, what, 700 quid? Oh my God. And it's like, oh, now there's a 1,500 quid version that's great. Give it.
Not me.
I will pay
for it.
whatever, like, if that's available, I will pay it. But it won't be available. So I say that comfortable in the knowledge, that it's like a big, like a guy you don't like. Yeah, I would hit him straight in the face, knowing that he'll never see it. And then, like, I would hit the Rock straight in the face, and then one day the Rock turns up.
What's that Canadian company who are always kind of arseholes, but they make
they make
like
that.
D-bags. They always make the kind of they did like a fake Switch cover that looked like the Zelda Switch. And they had a big argument with PlayStation for ages about their faceplates and stuff. They'll do one that looks close enough. Guaranteed. It won't be official, but it won't be official.
It's such a shame though, because when they limit it to those sorts of numbers, I'd love to have one of those PS5 Pros, right?
Yeah.
But it almost like demands that if you were actually able to buy one of those, you couldn't use it.
Yeah.
At that point, it's too valuable, right?
Yeah. You're quintupling your money straight away if you manage to get one of those. Like, I tried to get the PS4
They're going to scalp
version.
the shit out of them. It's such a shame.
Yeah. It's ridiculous putting such a limited number.
If they're going to limit that, they should literally do a lottery or something.
Yeah. The thing
or
is,
at least like limit it.
Sold the plates, like, see, like, do the console. They're all numbered. That's fine, but sell the grey plates eventually, so you can turn a normal PS5 Pro that you're already spending 700 quid on into like a version of the 30th.
At least limit it to if they're selling them through PlayStation Direct anyway, and they're making a big deal how anyone with a PlayStation account can buy it, pre-order it through PlayStation Direct. Run it through their trophy list and see how much they play PlayStation, and make sure the diehards can get the first shot at it. Because otherwise, it's going to be bots who've never caught a bloody ape in their life. They're going to be the ones who are buying it.
That'd be a nice touch if there was some way that they could, look, the people who have been PS Plus members for the longest or something.
You get first
give them first dibs. That would annoy me though. I'm going to digress massively. So I had Xbox Live. I imported Xbox Live from the US, right? Because Xbox Live came out on the original Xbox. It came out in the US a year before it came to Europe. So you had to import a physical starter kit, right, which had a headset and like a disc and stuff in order to sign up for Xbox Live. So I was like day 1111, like minus a year Xbox member. And I think it was on, because I would have been a teenager, so it was on my dad's credit card. So when I moved to 360, you needed to get my gamer tag. Like, I think the password had changed or something. Anyway, I couldn't reclaim the account because I didn't have the credit card number, and my dad had chucked the credit card. So to this day, I have been to dinner with actual Xbox Live engineers in the time since, right? You're talking 20 plus years, right?
He's been out for drinks with Blinks the time sweeper.
And even they have fired some emails and said, no, it's impossible to reclaim your gamer tag, right? I can see my gamer tag there, like, oh yeah, you played like Mech Warrior, and stuff like that. So it annoys me so much when it says, oh, you've been a member for 15 years, and I know that I've longer.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to PlayStation.
They should let the first 12,300 people that platinumed Astrobot get one of these. I'm not saying that.
Oh, funny that, eh?
I'm just saying the 69 people that platinumed Concord get one for free. There you go. That's what you get for your penance.
The 69 people who platinum Concord should have their account wiped.
Permaband. So I think it's funny that they're doing a portal. Like, I love the PlayStation Portal because I have a very specific use case for it, but the portal is weird because everyone like makes fun of it, but it's sold incredibly well like since it came out.
The deal breaker for me is the DualSense stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I understand how it's basically that's pretty impossible to put it on there.
Yeah,
but it's just like especially like I'll be playing like Astrobot and stuff, and you're not playing that.
Yeah, I use it for like for stuff that isn't pure visually intensive, or if I'm just like finishing off a bit of a review or anything. But yeah, you wouldn't do Astrobot. Here's the thing. I want the DualSense and the DualSense Edge, but again, much like the Astrobot controller that's just sat there, I don't want to actually use it for anything. I just kind of want to put it on a shelf. So it's just consumerism. Chris, how do you feel about this?
That was my concern when I pre-ordered the what the hell you call it?
Starfield.
Yeah, this one, the Starfield controller. But then obviously Starfield wasn't that good, so I happily use it.
5 stars VGC.
That's my controller choice. Oh well, I'll never mind then. I'll rescind that.
There is an Xbox employee that will remain nameless that makes fun of me for that Starfield review almost every day of my life. So, okay, when we come back, we have questions from listeners and a response from one Ben Star. We'll see you in a minute. And we are back. You can get more podcasts, more videos, and more VGC at patreon.com/videogameschronicle. Immediately following this podcast, Chris Scullion's Hit newsletter will be going out. Chris, give us a preview of one of your cracking jokes this week.
I think you missed an S from the start of Hit. I couldn't possibly share any of my wisecracks this week, and it's definitely not because I haven't started writing it yet.
Get it behind the paywall.
Exactly. I'll share one on Twitter. I always share one on Twitter just as a wee nibble. The first one's free.
The first one's free.
You'll get the rest
this week, Patreon. We put up the second episode of CVG, Chatting Vintage Games, with Jorg Tittel. Is that how you pronounce it? Tittel,
I believe.
Okay. The man behind C-Smash. It's all about the Dreamcast, and it was very good, fun to listen to. I know nothing about the Dreamcast, and even I, a layman who has never played a Dreamcast in his life, found it entertaining. So if that sounds up your alley, get it up your alley. Let's get some questions on the go. You'll remember from the start of this broadcast that we asked one Ben Star what it would cost him to officiate a wedding. I have a voice note. I'm going to try and play it into the mic here, but I'll put the proper version on the audio. So let's see. If Ben says anything horrible, I can't be held liable for this.
Hi there, Jordan. It's Ben Starr here, big fan of VGC, Britain's best video game podcast. See? I know branding. I'll officiate someone's wedding, Steve. Why the fuck not? How much would you pay me? I mean, how long is a piece of string? It's fine. You think I do this for money? You think I do this because I want money? I do this because I'm an idiot, Jordan. I'm an absolute idiot. Of course I will. Is it in a nice place? Even if it isn't, I'll do it. They seem like lovely people. They seem like they have great taste because they want me to officiate their wedding. Do they understand what chaos will be wrought? I'll say stuff.
There you go.
He can confirm he will do it and he will say stuff.
From the horse's mouth.
If that happens, he has to invite us to the wedding.
Oh yeah, definitely. Ben Starr is a businessman in show business, so as long as your wedding's in 2029, it should be okay.
As long as we're allowed to turn up in Celtic tops.
I'll turn up dressed as Clive from Final Fantasy 16. That man is constantly on the go. Every time I get a voice note from him, he's out of breath because he's just walking somewhere. And the last time I saw him, I was like, what do you do? Like, he has wired Apple headphones, the ones with like the little control. And he just walks about speaking into that constantly. And I was like, if anyone sees you in the street, they're going to think you're an absolute mentalist. But yes, thank you, Ben. Love you dearly. We need to get you back on for our Christmas sojourn. Okay, next question. Oh, in fact, we'll do... this is a good question from I Apologize Again. With PlayStation being willing to license out Freedom Wars, which we didn't get to, but Freedom Wars is coming back, what games from their past would you like brought back? And which devs would you pick for it? That second bit's a bit hard, but... stuff that they would bring back that they wouldn't do themselves is kind of an interesting question. I'd love to see a new MotorStorm. I don't know why, but like I feel like a MotorStorm with all that destruction environment stuff would be really cool with modern
They'll
graphics.
just disappoint us, Jordan.
Oh, come
Anything they
on,
bring
have a bit
back-
of joy in your life.
Anything, yeah, they'll go, here's the new MotorStorm. Anyway, here's the season pass, and buy yourself some bigger wheels,
Yeah.
and like do the floss dance on your bike and piss off.
That's appealing. That's appealing to
Piss
me.
off. I'm up for a new MotorStorm. I'm up for a new MotorStorm RC, which was the kind of a very underappreciated top-down racing game with remote control cars in it. I want a new Parappa. I don't care who makes it.
Punch.
Do you know, Parappa the Rapper, right, has got the biggest fan base for a shit game ever.
It was Parappa was the Beatles of rhythm action games. Like
I'll give you an example, right? Imagine if, like, say, Beautiful Joe or Project Number 9 or whatever it's called, people still talk like it's literally Nintendo put it in their games. It was like an okay, fairly unique game 30 years ago, and people talk about it like it's bloody Mario Brothers.
I stand by it. The guy's just a positive message, and we need more of that in video games these days. So I'm all for Parappa, and chuck in Jamalami as well. Fuck it. Just go wild.
I'm so happy that they're doing Freedom Wars, because that's like it's a Vita game that basically no one played, and they're like, it's as if they found it down the back of the couch.
Can I be honest?
Never heard it.
I literally don't know what it is.
Yeah.
What's the one? It isn't Freedom Wars, and I'm fully aware of that, but it's a similar, like another Vita game that deserves. What's the one where the boys jumping on cars? Is it Pursuit something or other? It's in a car chase and you can jump from car to car, and I'm sure they maybe re-released it. Is it Pursuit Force or something like that? I might be totally making it. I'm going to have to Google that, because
this is a preview of VGC, the Dementia years, where we're all sat in
it's called Pursuit Force. Get it wrapped right around you. Pursuit Force. PSP, and then there was a sequel for PS Vita. Yep, and it's available now on the Classics catalogue. I urge you all to play Pursuit Force. Pursuit Force on PS Plus Classics is a fantastic game. Underrated PSP gem. Go on it.
Yeah. They should remaster Days Gone. Next question: do you think we'll ever see a Dreamcast Mini from Viva La Hazy? Didn't they say they were going to do one? I feel like I wrote a story where they're like, we're trying to do one.
They teased it. They said they were, but after the Mega Drive Mini, they were teasing another Mini, and everyone went, oh, and he was like, oh, we're trying for the Dreamcast, and everyone went, oh, and then he went, oh, it's a Mega Drive 2 Mini. And everyone went, oh, and that was the end of it. I would love it.
What's stopping them? What's the problem?
It probably costs too much to make, because the emulation would require more processing power, so it wouldn't be like a sub £100 device anymore. It would be like a £200, £150 thing, and then maybe for that price, because the emulation would need to be a bit more advanced to be like, nah. Which is a shame. I'd love to see it. I think the Dreamcast. Well, obviously we just did a whole podcast about it, and it kind of deserves the love, but I don't know. You never say never, but I'd be surprised if they were actively working on one.
Yeah, that would be cool. Cyanide 1980 asks, 30th anniversary PS5 Pro comes with a DualSense Edge. That's actually not true. It comes with a normal DualSense, because they're not going to give you an Edge for all that money. What's your guesses on the price, and how long after it will people keep moaning that it's cheaper at buying a PC? Well, I mean, the price, if it comes, I think it's going to be $1,000, like a flat grand.
The Pro comes with a DualSense and a DualSense Edge, though, does it not?
Does it? Does it come with both?
Yep, it comes with both. I had to correct the article, because after double checking, it says it includes the DualSense and the DualSense Edge, so that you're getting everything in the collection.
Oh, so it does? Okay, well, in that case,
that's $1,000 easily.
I think it's more than that. I think it would be like 1,200 if it's got the full whack. Like,
yeah. The only thing it's missing is a portal. Basically,
yeah.
It's got everything but.
Here's the mentalist thing. It comes with one of 30 poster designs.
That's pathetic.
Who's going to be like, I'm going to collect them all. I'm going to drop 50 grand on all these consoles.
That's absolutely pathetic. Like, as much as a struggle as it was for you to get all those Astrobot Edge covers,
mate,
like you're not even going to start collecting these 30 PlayStation posters, are you?
Although,
no, you're not. Come on.
No, I'm not going to. I'm just saying about the Astro thing. watch this space. A very exciting update coming soon.
Somebody found it for you.
If it was like one of 30 possible poster designs and we've got the entire PS1 development team to sign it, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. At least we're all getting the same thing. But see if you get the shit one and you've just spent all this money, you'll be like, oh, well,
Here's some
thanks.
advanced university level maths for you.
Oh, Christ.
That means that 410 of each console will get a different poster design.
Okay.
There's going to be 410 of each poster. If they're limiting it to 12,300 consoles and there's 30 different posters, then there's only 410 of each poster.
That checks out.
So,
what if you order 30 of them and just get 30 of the same?
And you get 30
poster?
of the same one, and it'll be a bloody Ape Escape one. And you're like, mate.
Oh, I've not even thought if they're themed about games. I thought it would just be general kind of like,
shapes.
Here's what PS1 looks like, etc. If they're themed for games, that's even more disastrous. God. To do an Astro one,
imagine you got the Days Gone one.
John Garvin's heat explodes. Ganon MS asks, what limited edition controller / consoles would you like to see, like an Xbox Series X with 360 colors? Andy, you're a man that just sees stuff and buys it. Is there any specific kind of like theming you'd like to see? A PS2, PS5?
I was thinking that actually. Like, I think Astrobot was missing, a bit of the fun by not having the specific console theming, right? If they did like a PS2, I mean, because PS1 nostalgia has been played out a bit now,
definitely,
as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
like they have been rinsing that, and of course we've already had like PS1, PS4s.
Yeah,
do a PS2 one.
Yeah,
do a PS3 one with a Spider-Man font.
Like a piano black one, you know.
It says
like
PlayStation 5 and the Spider-Man font across the side of it.
When doesn't come with a HDMI cable.
It comes with like 7 SD card readers. When I originally played, when I was reviewing Astro, I was like, I thought the 5 worlds would correspond to the generations. So like in the first world, you're only finding cameos for like the PS1, and then you do 2, 3, 4, and 5. But yes.
No, I think they did the cameos in the they thought about accessibility. I think there's a reason the first ones you get are like Jack and Daxter and
Ratchet.
like it's Ratchet, because it's like the first level for kids, right? And that the more obscure references are on the hard levels.
Yeah. If you're coming to the end of your Astro adventure and want to see me and Chris spend an hour going, I think he's for this, you can get that on patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. Has gone down a treat. A PS2.
They're right now, by the way, they're announcing some bonkers Yakuza game.
Oh, really?
It's like a Yakuza pirate game.
Oh yeah, I saw it. There was a rumor that was going to happen. Well, I know what I'm doing after this. Yeah, but it's
literally the stream's going on right now.
Yeah,
it's like a dragon Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Ooh, now we're talking. I'll play anything those guys make. Okay, this was the question that I teased earlier in the show. Run, White Boy, run. Sorry, I can't speak. Is there anything Nintendo can do on a system UI level that could be a big step up in the experience for Switch 2? You're not allowed to say achievements, Chris Scullion.
Literally anything. and let us get a green background. I don't care.
Put some music on it for a start. Put the music back.
See, by the time the 3DS
make the store run, give the store more RAM than what is on my calculator.
See, by the time the 3DS was at the end of its life, you had Street Pass. You had like 10 different Street Pass games with it to push the whole connectivity thing. You had a bloody claw game in it where you could grab new themes and new icons for your UI at the front, and you could spend money on it, or you would get free goes every day to get new icons and stuff for it. You could fully customize that UI. It was magical. See, on the Wii U, as shite as it was, you had a whole Miiverse. You had people running about. You had an actual social network built into it. There are a million things. Even the Wii channels looked really cool when you would move them about, and they would all go. There's none of that personality in the Switch, and I think it needed that when the Switch launched, because after the Wii U, Nintendo had to say, right, back to basics. Let's not piss around anymore. We need to focus primarily on the games. That's why for the longest time it didn't have a Netflix app. It didn't have any kind of multimedia apps on it for the longest time. They were like, we need to focus on the games, because that's the important thing. They've won that battle now. Start bringing the personality back into it, because that's the only thing that's sorely missing from the Switch is the Nintendo feeling. And that desperately needs to get put back in it. I'll take achievements as well, but the important thing, I want to smile when I turn it on instead of just like looking for the icon that I need to choose for the game I want.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love all of that stuff. Definitely the store has to be better. The music stuff would be a nice touch. I think we just need to maybe not go as mental as they used to go, but somewhere in the middle of that would be totally fine. Bring back Street Pass, but you have to bring the entire console with you and your telly to wherever you go.
I'd love Street Pass back. Street Pass was magical.
You and Xeon, that's it. And Courtney.
It's very much a dying. I've got a wee kind of long running article that I'm working on that. I'm going to definitively in the coming weeks declare whether Street Pass is dead or not.
We're a dying breed, the Street Pass law. Okay, we'll get out of here soon. Last question. Ahead of EAFC 25, what are your picks for the Celtic Rush mode? Before we answer, you may have noticed we've not mentioned EAFC 25 on this podcast. That's because I'm proud to announce we're doing a 3-part mini podcast series, myself, Chris, and potentially some special guests exclusively about EAFC 25. We have so much to say, but we also know that we take the piss on this podcast enough with stuff that you're not interested in, a la Paisley, a la Celtic Football Club. So we're just going to talk about EAFC on its own little sojourn. You excited about that, Chris? Me and you going mental.
I'm heavily pumped. I'm also ready to complain about the fact that the game crashes every bloody half an hour for me on Xbox, so can't wait.
Swings and roundabouts, Chris. Celtic Rush mode, I'm Kyogo all the way.
So Rush mode, this is the one I haven't started yet. This is the one where you pick a single player and take it into an online 5-a-sides. If you're going Kyogo, then I'll go Maeda. And we get kind of the double build, the fast Japanese players up front. That's us. Get a couple of random pricks in defence.
Have you noticed that every single commentator insists on doing Japanese patter when they're talking about Maeda and Kyogo? They've put Slovan Prague to the samurai sword.
I heard that the other night.
Sword. You can just say to the sword.
They always say, "Are you allowed to say the Japanese when describing somebody? Is that an okay term?"
I mean, I presume so. Yeah,
because like, you say like the Japanese player, whatever, but they always say, "Oh, a great play by the Japanese," as in one guy, and it's like.
They also love the man from Japan. They love that pattern constantly.
Which is it gets quite tiring when half our team is Japanese. So you hear it all the time. But
anyway, Celtic's going to win the Champions League. Andy, what are you up to for the rest of the week?
What am I doing for this week? Well, I'm going to my first home game tomorrow for the season, and that's about.
Are you getting on it? Are you having 18 beers?
Well, it's 12:30 kickoff, mate.
So yeah,
so just a 16.
We've checked, and the pub opens at 9 a.m.
Hell yes. What's the post football food situation? Is it just up the road in a takeaway, or do you go somewhere specific?
Oh, they do pie and mash where I am.
Pie, mash, and liquor, which looks like pie, potatoes, and sick on top of it. A real London delicacy.
No, it's mate. It's that you. I once stopped Northerner from ordering gravy with it, and I was so proud.
Yeah.
See, we're talking
Scotch pies.
We're talking pies, and I was going to say about Scotch pies. Have you dabbled with the kebab pie yet?
Oh no, I haven't.
That's the future of food.
Can you get it at Parkhead?
No, you can get them at Asda. Believe it or not.
Oh, well.
Listen, see your boys that make your normal Scotch pies, and they do the steak and gravy alternative. I don't know if this is a Scotland only thing or. Kebab pies are like glorious. A Scotch pie with kebab meat and chili sauce inside it. Mate, they're devastatingly good.
That's a serious situation. I'll need to explore that. Was it Wednesday night, whatever night the code came in for FC25, me and my partner got a takeaway from the master chef. It was a proper like a chicken pizza, chips and cheese, and chicken pakora, and I was just living life.
Is it called the Master Chef?
It's called Master Chef. It's
Lloyd Grossman in the bag smoking a fag over the fryer.
It's a great establishment. It's got the dirtiest floors you'll ever see, but they make a hell of a pizza. Anyway, we've got somewhat off piece. I'm going to go and see what this Yakuza pirate game is all about. Later today, newsletter. Also, I interviewed WWE superstar Lyra Valkyria. You can check that out later today. And I played Pokemon TCG Pocket at the Pokemon Company. It's Pokemon Marvel Snap. It's going to ruin my life. If you're a Patreon member this weekend, potentially today, if I have time, potentially tomorrow, I have a vlog from my trip to the Pokemon Company where I leak Pokemon 2. They're coming back with new Pokemon.
Pokemon 2.
It's the sequel to Pokemon.
Finally.
Pokemon 2. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, listening, whatever you do. Rate us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow Chris at Scully1888. This G Fuel Cyber Power has really
It's kicking in.
tongue-tied me. Follow Andy at _VGC. Oh, my new phone's been delivered. I'm going to go and get my new phone and take some really explicit photos.
It's a flip
with
top
the new camera.
Motorola.
Yeah, it's a sidekick. It's an N-Gage. Thank you to Grant Kirkhope for providing VGC's podcast theme. I know he's a big fan, listens every week. Thanks. I'm really glad I contributed to that. Until next time, say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
Come on, the Celtic, and we'll see you next week.